The NBA is filled with competitive players that love to talk trash, get physical, and embarrass opponents. And in this video, we'll be going over the 20 most disrespectful moments in NBA history. But before we do that, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to Triple Double. Let's get into it. Starting off at number 20 with Jared Dudley's beef with Ben Simmons, and this one's pretty funny. Before the Philadelphia 76ers and Brooklyn Nets played Game 4 of their playoff series, Jared Dudley, yes, out of all people, Jared Dudley, was asked about what he thought about Ben Simmons by the reporters. And you know what he said? He called Simmons average at best. That's pretty bold for someone like Jared Dudley to say. But nevertheless, it got into Ben Simmons' head. Because in Game 4 of that series, Jared Dudley had his moment. He knocked down a long three-point shot and then proceeded to talk trash to Ben Simmons right in his face. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
Three by Dudley.
Now there was really no need for this at all, but still Dudley found a way to get into Ben Simmons' head. And personally, I think that's one of the funniest beefs in NBA history. Just two very random players to get into it. Now that beef wasn't too bad, but this one's a lot more physical. We're talking about when DeAndre Jordan posterized Brandon Knight. And one of Jordan's dunks is one of the all-time greats when he completely bodied Brandon Knight in a regular season game. And at that moment, Brandon Knight was never looked at the same. I mean, he was just a vicious poster. But sometimes the taller guy doesn't always finish on the smaller guy. Take for example, Nate Robinson blocking Yao Ming. The former Houston Rockets big man towered over 7 feet tall, as Yao Ming was an international superstar. And when the Houston Rockets played the New York Knicks, Ming took a feed off of the block and went up for an easy dunk. But it wasn't so easy.
See David Lee trying to battle Yao Ming. Yao was upset he didn't get it that time. Brady bumps.
I guess size isn't everything in basketball. But I mean, Robinson is a one-of-a-kind player. He's a former slam dunk contest champion. And the crazy part about this whole situation, he got in Ming's head so much that Ming covered his face after the block to make it look like he was fouled. But nah, bro, you were just embarrassed. Now, it's one thing to get embarrassed by someone else, but it's one thing to embarrass yourself, which is what Lance Stephenson did when he blew on LeBron James. In the Eastern Conference Finals, the Indiana Pacers believed they had a squad that could take down the Miami Heat, and Lance Stephenson was tasked with the job of being a pest to LeBron James, trying to throw him off, and it kind of worked.
For the Indiana Pacers, including this, blowing in the ear of LeBron James.
In his reaction, he didn't get mad, he just smiled and shook his head, because he knew what Stephenson was trying to do. And he made a meme that never died. Now that was a more playful, disrespectful moment, but this one is just straight up disrespectful. I'm talking about when James Harden crossed up Wesley Johnson badly.
Good work. I thought it was going to be hard.
Oh, he stared at Wesley Johnson and then he hit the three.
And it was so bad that Harden just stared down at him for a couple seconds before going up for the shot and then hitting it. If I was Wesley Johnson, I would retire right then and there. It was that bad. Another person that should have retired at the moment of being disrespected is Jason Terry when LeBron dunked all over him.
Wade from behind takes it away. Chalmers, dang!
And to add insult to injury, LeBron stood over Terry for a second while he was on the ground. I'm surprised Terry didn't want to throw a punch right then and there. But sometimes you don't have to throw a punch. You could just stare him down, which is what Marcus Morris did. And during his time with the Celtics when he played against the Cavaliers, Morris denied Larry Nance Jr. a chance for an alley-oop. And Nance went down to the floor while Marcus Morris just stared him down. Just straight up disrespectful.
Last touch by Morris. What an outstanding play.
Oh, and Nance pushes Morris. Morris goes back. They have to be separated.
But what's even more disrespectful is getting kicked in the nuts, which is what Draymond Green did to Steven Adams in a conference finals matchup between the Golden State Warriors and Oklahoma City Thunder. This incident caused a lot of criticism for Draymond Green, and rightfully so, because Adams took a pretty nasty shot. It was a dirty play and very disrespectful.
Green putting a move on Adams. And he is fouled. And down goes Adams.
Another disrespectful play is when Gorgie Deng just pushed the defenseless Chris Paul.
That's as close as they've gotten it. And then Jang. Oh! Now we got something going on. Jang shoved Paul.
You know, frustration happens, I get it. And Deng was frustrated and pushed Paul to the ground, where Paul's teammate Gerald Green retaliated by shoving Deng extra hard, which prompted a scuffle between the two teams. I mean, the whole thing was just disrespectful. But not as disrespectful as Serge Ibaka's bad day.
Ibaka appeared to touch it. Ball goes out of bounds.
Nobody touched it. Cavs get it under the basket.
Oh no, Ibaka and Chris exchanging blows.
This led to Marquise Chris telling reporters that Ibaka must have had a bad day. And it was a bad day for OKC Thunder fans when Damian Lillard pulled up from the 4-point line to win the game and eliminate the Thunder from moving on in the playoffs.
Lillard, long-range three, and it's good! At the
Everyone knew Dame time, but hitting that shot in Paul George's face was next level disrespectful. But not as disrespectful as Joakim Noah ripping the entire city of Cleveland.
I just stayed in my hotel room, man. Every time I look out my window, it's pretty depressing out here, man. It's bad. It's bad.
He took it pretty far because he asked if the reporters liked Cleveland and if he had ever heard anyone ask if they would like to go to Cleveland for vacation. I mean, that's just mean.
You like it? You think Cleveland's cool? I mean, I never heard anybody say I'm going to Cleveland on vacation.
Up next is Rajon Rondo spitting on Chris Paul in a regular season game. Yeah, emotions were pretty high between the Houston Rockets and the Lakers. In a close game with 4 minutes left to play, Rondo and Paul began to exchange a few words, and they got up pretty close. And then Rondo spit in Chris Paul's face, which led to Paul retaliating with a shove. And then Rondo came back with a punch to his face. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Now Paul punches a throw. Paul and Rondo throwing punches. Ingram comes in. He's throwing punches.
But it doesn't come close to as bad as Scottie Pippen posterizing Patrick Ewing.
Myers for Pippen. Whoa, a faithful Scottie Pippen in the face of Patrick Ewing.
He dunked on him so hard that he landed in front of Ewing's body and then straddled him. And Patrick didn't appreciate this at all. The 1990s had plenty of disrespectful moments, like when Shawn Kemp pointed at Alton Lister after posterizing him. The dunk itself was already disrespectful, but then as he landed on the floor, he looked directly at Lister and pointed at him. That's a pretty alpha move. It was also alpha when Michael Jordan finger-wagged Dikembe Mutombo after he dunked on him.
He did it! Michael shakes the finger, but he finally got his dunk on Mount Mutombo.
Some more Michael Jordan disrespect was when he shot his free throws with his eyes closed. And speaking of splash, Stephen Curry has had plenty of disrespectful moments.
12-point lead for the Warriors at halftime. Jack gives it to Landry. Curry, up fake slides.
He shot the ball, turned his back, and talked to the bench as the shot was going in the basket. That's probably the coolest thing a shooter could do. But one of the coolest things you could ever do is step over someone after breaking their ankles, which is what Allen Iverson did over Tyronn Lue.
Bothered by Lue. Iverson. How about that? Steps over Tyronn Lue.
And to make matters worse, it was in the NBA Finals. With everyone watching, I would hate to be him. And ending off this list is Reggie Miller choking out the Knicks. Yeah, who would have thought the most disrespectful moment would be from Reggie Miller. In a 1995 playoff game between the Pacers and Knicks, the Pacers were down by 6 points with 9 seconds left. It looked like it was over, but it wasn't, because Reggie Miller scored 8 points in the final seconds of the game to give Indiana the lead and the win. And while he did that, he turned to Knicks superfan Spike Lee and gave him a two-handed choke sign.
Discussion with Spike Lee.
I mean, have you ever seen anything more disrespectful? I don't think I have. And with that being said, those are the 20 most disrespectful moments in NBA history. Comment down below what you think, and remember to drop a like and subscribe to Triple Double for more videos.